What do historians do? What motivates them to study the field of history? Well, you will find if you ask most historians these questions, very few will say the same thing. But something that virtually all have in common is that they are incredibly inquisitive. Or should I say, we are incredibly inquisitive. My love of history began on my grandparents' porch. It was there that I enjoyed sitting and listening to the surreal stories about my mother, her siblings, and her parents, almost all of which were told with a comedic flair. As I grew older and traveled a bit, I became anxious when asked by strangers, "Where are you from?" The first time someone asked, I looked them straight in the eye and said with a smile, "Birmingham." That first time did not end well. In the spring of 2004, I traveled to upstate New York for my future graduate school's interview weekend. I was interested in studying museums and public history. Interview weekend was not just an opportunity for applicants to meet potential teachers and practitioners, but it also was a chance for us to meet the other applicants, as well as local alumni. Like most of the applicants, I had only lived in and around my hometown. But there was a distinct difference in the way people responded to where the others were from when compared to their response to me. Birmingham. Oh, oh my, what a terrible place. Another person said, "Wow, oh, what is that like now? Has much changed? Are you going back after you finish school?" Someone else just did a long exhale followed by the statement, "Nice to meet you." It was then that I learned that my home meant vastly different things to different people. My definition of home was literally incongruent with most people's definition. Studying the past helped me understand why. For whole generations of people, Birmingham was Bull Connor wielding a baton. It was fire hoses forced upon peaceful protesters. It was bombing ham. The legacies of that Birmingham certainly were present in the early 1980s when I was a child. You could see those vestiges in my K-4 classroom, where I was the only Black child in the room. My teacher placed my desk far away from everyone else. Spatially, I was closer to our class's pet hamster than to any human being in the room. At the time, my 4-year-old mind did not ask questions, but I wondered why. The legacies of that Birmingham were also seen in the open ditches in the front yard of my grandparents' house, where their community was initially designed to be no man's land without city services like sewage and plumbing. A favorite childhood activity was helping my grandmother burn trash. By the time I was around, the quote unquote home house, as we called it, had sanitation pickup. But for most of my grandmother's life, there was no public sanitation because of Jim Crow. So she continued the ritual of trash burning day. If we follow the logic of the people from interview weekend in upstate New York, Birmingham is an example of racism's devastating hold on the US South. Racism is a characteristic of Southern life. But studying the history of this country taught me that Birmingham is not unique. Perhaps what is unique and distinctive, rather, is that my family raised me not to be defined by that Birmingham. The porch, the stories, the laughter presented evidence that we were worth so much more. Our lives were indeed priceless. My early quest to become a historian was tied to understanding the vast nuances inherent in Birmingham as a public memory project. Who owns history? What is it? Can we make meaning of the past in a way that recognizes the wide gulf between archives and memories? These questions are why I became a historian.